Here we go. We're live. Welcome to the club, people. You know what? I do not have my hot and cold drink. I have my hot drink, but not my other drink. So we're going to go over all the good stuff that we didn't go over last night and try not to have technical difficulties. But guess what? Like always, I need to waste your time and send out an email to the rest of the group. And we already have some people here. Thank God. 3 wars of custody. Man, you know why the TikTok stuff was so crazy last night? You know why? It's because it was going on the narcissist tip. So, all right, let me send out this fancy email to everybody here. And, oh God, I got to do 2. 2 in a row. Holy smokes. And I got to switch my Zoom profile. Guys, if you are not on my high conflict custody email list, you should be. And if you do it right now, you go to the direct.me/Steve Maeda link, you can get the Zoom link for all of this. And it looks like, let me see on the YouTube feed. That looks like okay exposure. What if I up it? What if I up it? No, that's a little bit too much. Let's bump the gain down. Okay, so we'll do this one on here. We're going to get into it tonight. So tonight is going to be kind of a cool thing with the live stream, is because for most of it, hopefully, you're going to have to hear me talk for a little bit, but we're going to open it up to the Zoom meeting. And on the Zoom meeting, you can answer whatever questions. Now, here's the thing with the Zoom meeting. Here's the secret trick with the Zoom meeting is it's only going to be emailed out to people on my email list. So the reason why I'm doing that is I don't want just a bunch of random people, which could still happen with my email list, coming in on the Zoom link, because then it just gets out of control, right? So only the serious folks. But that will be one of the benefits. And I have not yet advertised it on the general email list of what it all is, right? Or that I'm going to be offering this kind of regularly, but whatevs, brah. Okay, so give me a second. Just going to send this email out to these folks. I'm going to send all the good stuff out. All the good stuff out to the people in the Rising Man. They can join early. And then, oh my gosh, I'm pressing the wrong buttons. I can't even think straight. I think it's in drafts. There we go. And did I do the artwork right? I didn't do the artwork right. I'm a bad person. Okay. And click here for Zoom. I think I got it. I think I got it. I hope I'm right. Actually, the YouTube link is wrong. We'll get that squared away. And then we'll get to all the good stuff, the fun, happy things. Dun-dun-dun. This is what happens when you're not a true Boy Scout. You don't prepare. All right. How's everybody doing tonight? That good? Tough time, brah. Hell yeah. Sons be strong. That's right, guys. Okay, we'll do this one out at 10:45. We'll switch it over to the Zoom call. So you guys, if you're not on my email list, you'll get to hear what these people ask. And we will run it all up. Dude, are you serious? Did I not do all this? Oh man, I am really slipping, guys. Really slipping. You know, I watch the videos afterwards, or I watch like the first half, and I usually cut it off or cut off these first 5 minutes. Because I'm just rambling on about stuff. But I'm happy you guys put up with it. All right, so guys, on Zoom, write in your questions. On YouTube, man, thank you so much. Like you guys who are watching on YouTube, like I really, really appreciate it, because it, like some of you guys have given donations, which is super cool. You don't have to. Take all this stuff, use it however you want to use it. It's free for you, all that sort of good stuff. You know, so last night there were some technical difficulties that we had. I wasn't planning on doing a live stream today, but we are doing it. And so what I want to cover here is the second half of what I wanted to go over last night, okay? And then after that, we're going to open it up for questions. And if you're in my groups, you already have the Zoom action, and I'm going to open up the line for Zoom shortly after that. Let me do one last thing that I want to check. Here is this action, YouTube. And so guys, what we're going to cover is this fun stuff. We are going to talk about family court, we're going to talk about custody, and we're going to talk about it in a way so that you can win. And here's one of the things, guys, is there's a myth that you can't win, especially for men, and the consequences are high, they're huge. I just got done with 4 hours from my groups, and before that there were more calls that I went over, and the tragedies that we go through in the family court system is horrible. So what I want to talk about here are these 3 wars that you have to go through. And in those 3 wars, you actually have to be different for all of them. This is one of the hardest things to get. And I just want to say where this all comes from is it comes from guys who have won, okay? So very important in going through all of this, just want to state, not legal advice. This is at your own risk, but I'm going to tell you exactly where this all comes from. This comes from me running a group for 17 years, been doing this for 19 years and 3 quarters, almost 20 years. And in that time, we have formed the only group that has a ton of men who have won only starting out in high conflict custody. That means that the only cases we get are parental alienation, false allegations, kidnappings, the worst stuff, crazy people doing all sorts of crazy stuff. And we have a huge amount of guys who have won custody. There are also men who have lost tragically. There are men who have some of the worst stories that don't have happy endings. And so what I want to share with you is from all that experience, what we have. That's a lot of time. And what's so tragic is in this whole time, everybody's always cited a problem with the family court system, but nobody's really come up with a solution. And that's what we did kind of randomly. You know, why I started the groups, I talked about this last night, I talk about it on a lot of live streams, is I started these groups because I just wanted to give a support system, a support network for men. And almost 20 years later, I realized that nobody else really does this. Everybody says they want to do it. But my group for 17 years, every week we've had calls that work internationally for men going through this every week. And since 2013, every week we've had 30 hours of calls a week for men going through this. Of course, you don't need to be on them all, but that's a lot. And so within that, of just the support system to help these men, guess what happened? We started to figure out how some men were randomly winning, you know, and all this different stuff. And everybody says they want to fight, they have a plan, they're gonna be able to do this because they have these things going. And most of the time it doesn't work, but sometimes it does. And then we started going, okay, what are these guys doing? How could we repeat that? And after a certain amount of time, we started to notice that the same thing kind of happened, right? So in what I bring to you, I'm not your lawyer. I can't advise you. You have to take this at your own risk. I'm just telling you what has worked in our groups and what hasn't worked. And it's kind of screwed up, but there's nobody else with this information. So, on that note, let's get into this. That's where all of this comes from. All right. Where are my notes? Where are my notes? God, so much for me being prepared, right? 3 wars of a custody battle. Whenever you are facing some sort of high conflict, and this is the only thing that we really talk about here is high conflict. And it's actually a specific form of high conflict when one party is disenfranchising the other. It's not both parties just disagreeing. When we're in high conflict, there's always 3 battles that you're fighting. And at different points in your battle, one's going to be more important than the other. But if you don't win all 3, you're going to lose. So 3 wars, 1 man. And you got to wear those hats. If you're a woman watching this, then 3 wars, 1 woman. And this is the legal battle. This is going to also be the mental and emotional battle. And there's going to be fatherhood afterwards. Who you are after this. What is your life afterwards? And all 3 battles are fought differently. They're fought at the same time. Sometimes the legal, especially at first, is kind of one of the most important ones. But if you fight the therapeutic, mental, emotional battle, like the legal battle, you lose. If you fight the legal battle, like the therapeutic side, you lose. So what I want to go over here is what we take guys through in this. And if you followed my stuff, you've probably heard this before, but here I want to get a little bit more into the tactical things that we're going to do. How do we solve this? What is the problem? What is the solution? All right. So there's 3 basic roles that save a dad in high conflict custody. And so your ex could lie, the court could fail you. Your kids are going to be confused. You're going to feel like less of a man, less of a parent. You're being attacked in all these ways. Your social circle closes out on you. But if you fail to play these 3 roles correctly, you don't fight the wars how they're meant to be fought, you're going to lose everything. Okay? So, truth bomb number 1, the court doesn't care about your feelings. Do not bring the therapeutic, the emotional, the mental stress into your court case. Now, at first, this could be hard to describe because you're like, she lied, she betrayed me, shouldn't that matter? Probably not. But before we get into that, we have to find out what actually matters in family court, which there are a ton of videos that I have on that. Now, the other thing too is your therapeutic process, your mental process, the stress, the emotional weight, how you enter into the recovery of this doesn't care about any deadlines. It doesn't care about making an argument, how you're going to have to make it in court. It doesn't care about the same evidence that you're going to need in there. And in family court, you're going to have to be so shrewd and to the point, and it's sometimes cutthroat. It seems aggressive. And as you go through it, you're going to realize it's not. It's what you actually have to do. It's part of the language of the courts. But that goes against you taking a high road, learning the true virtues of forgiveness, or how do you find compassion in this? How do you rebuild? And these things conflict all the time. You know, I hear all the time. In fact, I heard today, took a private call, and it was agreed upon with the parties that we wouldn't bring this into court. We're not going to do that because that's what bad people do. That's what people that are not spiritually evolved do. That's what people who care about morality do. And it's actually the opposite, especially with a high conflict situation. If you have an amicable situation, by all means, keep it out of the courts. But as you probably can guess, what happened, and may have even been what happened to you, because nobody says, man, we're going to get married or have a baby or whatever, and then kill ourselves in a high conflict custody battle. One of those parties got a lawyer, filed in court, and just absolutely screwed, sandbagged the other party. And that's where he started. This is what he was coming to me with. So when this happens, right, they're leveraging the moral judgments and values to take advantage of you legally. Happens all the time. So you cannot mix these things. They're both vitally important. But what's even more important, because remember there's 3 roads, there's all that parenting afterwards. What does it mean to be a dad afterwards? What's your relationship with your kids? Now, when you think about this, if you're willing to win your court case at the expense of your kids' mental health, or you don't understand how kids' mental health is affected, and there's studies on these things. It's actually a big thing in our call about how there is research done on certain things like parental alienation, even though the courts may not see it. How do we properly argue that in court so that we can win while not damaging our kids? Also, if we don't take care of the therapeutic road, one of the big things that we say all the time in our groups is that you're going to have to fight your ass off for the custody that you deserve if you're being attacked by somebody with borderline or narcissistic personality disorder or something like that. You're going to have to fight your ass off for that. But your kids don't care about how hard you fought. Your kids care if you're there in their lives in the right way. Your kids don't want you to drag them into the debate between who's right and wrong, mom or dad. And just by the way, like telling your kids the truth is a terrible idea. Like one of the things with our groups is we integrate therapy with it. There's really good services from that. And there's also tons of studies cited that this is not healthy for your kids. So I get it if the mom is saying that, whatever bad stuff about you as the dad, don't play tick for tack with that. It monumentally screws up the kids. And sadly, the family courts don't yet see it, or most of them don't. And so it's not a valid argument to win or to stop it. And so we have to learn how to stop it in other ways. We have to know our battles, guys. Okay. So why do good men still lose family court? Why does this happen? Why is it that a good father tucks his kids in at night, makes money, may not take them to school all the time? Why does he get screwed over in custody? And why does this happen so regularly when he's being attacked by somebody with a personality disorder? So somebody who might have borderline personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, maybe they just have traits of that, but our culture seems to perpetuate it. But one of the reasons why that man loses is because he gets blindsided, okay? He gets reactive. He thinks, and this is probably one of the biggest ones, man, when we go by line in people's case, you can always see this on the guys that get screwed or they're starting off losing in big ways, is they confuse the moral, spiritual, mental, what friends say. They confuse all of that emotional, therapeutic side of stuff with what is necessary to win in family court. They mix them up. They take the high road. They forgive and she attacks, okay? So they're chasing an emotional victory instead of a functional win. All right. And so we bring this up a lot, brought it up last night, brought it up on multiple live streams. An emotional victory is that she loses and you feel good about it. Functional victory is better parenting time, child support set at the right area, the court setting laws that are going to stay and affect your life for long periods of time. And they fit in a parenting plan. Okay. So another thing dads will do is they think that being a good dad is enough, telling the truth is enough, not learning how to speak the court's language properly, and they just kind of wing it and go off of what they feel is a good thing. They think healing means that they're ready. They think that if they can get past their anger by switching it to new hobbies, distractions, these types of things. They think finding a new relationship often is the replacement for some social badge of being a winner, and then they negate their case. There's all sorts of things. And what I want to say here is if you're in this road, you have to start thinking immediately, and it's hard because you're probably stressed and screwed over in all these ways. How do I handle the court game? How do I handle the mental game? How do I handle the emotional game? And how do I set it up so I can be a father afterwards? So I'm not a wreck. So I'm not bringing my resentment and my pissed offness that's probably justified into my child's life. And man, there is not a lot of good advice on this. Okay, so let's go into the first role in all of this. The first role is the legal strategist. So if you're a man and in high conflict, you have to strategize legally and you have to think legally. And part of the definition of that is you cut out your emotional chaos, pain, reactivity. So you might have your anger driving you, right? You might have your pursuit of justice driving you. Maybe not even your anger towards her, but your pursuit to do the right thing. You might have your imprint of who you are in always accomplishing something. All of that is equal to the emotion that makes you broken, devastated, unable to, get through the day. And both of these are common with men. So why any sort of emotion is bad in family court is because it makes us too emotionally attached to the outcome. Our win is dependent upon us feeling good. When our win is going to be best played, executed, it's going to counter, especially a high conflict counter, meaning that she's trying to disenfranchise us, she's trying to get us riled up, she's trying to make the courtroom chaos, she's trying to blame us, she's using emotion to manipulate the judge, if there's a jury, different witnesses, all of those different things, so that we essentially react. She's not thinking we're going to react, but most people do. And then it pisses off the court, causes chaos. The judge stops it and has a reactive ruling. You don't want that. You want it always to be brought back to order. So if you see her winning with emotional chaos, you have to bring it back to order. Bring it back to what the courts are about. Okay. So you need to start looking at what wins in family court. I always tell you guys, watch family court, document everything, learn how to organize evidence properly. It's not just that you have evidence. I get calls every freaking day, guys, on that I have the evidence. Have you seen it work in front of your judge? Have you seen it work in any family court? So what you're trying to prove, what you're trying to articulate is, I guarantee you've been articulated in a family court before. And I also guarantee you it's been articulated this week in a family court. And you can go and look. You can go watch on Zoom. Now, it's better in front of your judge, but if you can't gain access to that, you go and look up family courts in California or Washington that have their live streams of it. And you watch 10 or 12 or you watch 50. That's a lot. That really sucks. But you watch that so you can understand how people make the argument you're trying to make. And what you're going to watch is 5 or 6 people make the argument how you're thinking of making it with your ironclad evidence that isn't articulated properly in the court, and you won't understand why you fail, right? And then it pisses you off, makes you angry, and you watch a bunch of dudes saying how unfair it is, which it's unfair. I'm still surprised that you won't listen to guys who've won. Like, it's too much. Like when I bring proof, or maybe when we go live on the Zoom call, and those guys come on, for some reason it's like too much. Like, no, they've won. You can look up their case. You can see it. They've done impossible things. Their attorneys have gone, man, how did you do that? Or their attorneys who fired them or whatever come back and say, how did you do this? I thought this was impossible. When I bring guys who've done that in my group to talk to guys who have it all planned out, they don't want to listen to them. And it blows my mind. You'd rather listen to people who fulfill your idea of victimhood than anything else. What's wrong with men these days? So what we have to look for is, if you walk into court expecting fairness, you've already lost. It is unfair. Great. End of discussion. What do I need to do? So most fathers, when they're chasing justice, they're chasing the idea of justice. And this is the great irony in it, right? I don't mean to be an asshole here, but it's frustrating watching so many dads tragically lose when for years you've been broadcasting an answer that does work. You need to chase the justice in that courtroom. And you need to do it in a way that the family courts will see it. This is your baseline. If you're not doing that, you're setting yourself up to lose, whether lawyers are corrupt, judges are corrupt, and the whole system is rigged to screw you. How is it that a dad wins? there's more than a daddy's one. So you want to do that. Stop chasing the idea of what you think it's supposed to be. And furthermore, stop chasing the idea from the megaphone of the men's movement, which tells you can't win. You know, last night on our live stream, I said years ago, one of the red pill guys was famous and everybody loved it. It was like the fact that he said this meant like you could feel good about yourself for failing. But he said, if you ever want to see like the tragedies of the American justice system, go sit in family court and watch it for a day. It's free, open to the public. And I sat there thinking, well, I've actually done that. And that's how I figured out that you could win. Like, guys, do that. But don't do it so that you go, everything sucks and I can complain and like a podcast instead of my fucking kids. Go watch family court. If you can't watch your court, because that's the thing, it's like, I can't in my state, I give up. And I get it. It's hard. It's stressful, right? Go in on Harris County, open to the public. That's in Texas. Dallas County, they even advertise. It says on their little thing, like, because of our courts and what we're proud of or something like that, you know, we are open to the public always. These are the cases that won't be, that have to do with abuse and so on. But all family court is open. Here's the times. It's still kind of difficult, but man, like seriously, guys, seriously. And then I also get the excuse, even from people who pay me, that I don't have time for that. So probably the best thing that you can do is that, to save you money in every way. So not just save you money, because the biggest problem in family court is that you can't see your kids. So the best free, useful tool, better than ChatGPT and AI, which is really good, better than all of that, is watching family court. Straight up. It's free. And it takes 5 hours of your day. And it, like, when I say it'll save you money, like, I don't know, $10,000, $60,000. Sky's the limit, really. Like, people get really screwed. Like, I would really start there. Okay. You don't have to pay me. You don't have to hire a coach. You don't have to get a lawyer. You can start there for free. Now, if you need a lawyer, get a lawyer, right? I'm not saying that you get it, right? It's free. Okay. So now that we got that out of the way, the legal war is necessary for you to learn how to fight. In tandem with this, the two biggest blows right away are going to be the legal and the mental. Okay, so oftentimes I'll call it the therapeutic road. Oftentimes I'll say it's the mental game or the emotional game. But this is a road that you're going to have to start walking right away. So when we're in a high conflict custody battle, we're being attacked by the other side, and especially with NPD, BPD, some sort of false allegations, parental alienation, our mental game is going to be compromised. Let's just understand that. It's not about being tough. It's not about being whatever. You're going to have a compromising of that, and most likely a failure of it. It's not because you're weak. It's because you love your kids. But if you fail at this, or this, if you fail at the mental, emotional, therapeutic side of this, you will fail legally, especially if you're being attacked. Okay, if it's an amicable divorce, different. Amicable custody battle, different. If you're being attacked in high conflict and you just want to go about being a good dad and you do not check your mentality, you make sure that you're okay, you do your survival skills basics, you will lose. And here's why. Because remember, in the legal game, what wins it? Legal strategy. Cutting out the emotion, being able to see the family court for what it is and work it that way. Even your anger, your clarity, all these things, because they're motivated by your emotion, too much of that, it'll make you lose. Okay? And of course, if you're so depressed you can't function, it will make you lose. Why? Because somebody's attacking you. And they're attacking you in a way where if you have that drive, that resentment, that anger driving you, which is understandable. Like you should have it. Your kids are being taken away. You're being attacked. It's unfair. There's all these stresses. If you react to their attacks and any sort of anger or instability gets shown in the courtroom, and you're a guy, and if you're like a baller guy, you're like an alpha dude, like you're used to being loud and commanding attention and getting your way because you're smarter and accomplished and whatever different things, that does not look good in family court. You need to know that right off the rip, right? That's really, really important. So what we need to do is we need to go, because this legal game's so complex, we need to be able to check our emotions, check our mentality, and learn a completely different language. So if you know how to go into a boardroom, make a sale, kick ass in job interviews, you were special ops for whatever faction of the military, you need to have a different mindset in the family courts because it's a different mask. Your mentality needs to be then disciplined on what do I need to do for what the judge wants? And how do I get past this anger in the right way? So this is kind of interesting because I'm telling you, more than likely in the courtroom, you have to not act like your emotions and act like how they want to see you. You know, like you wear a suit, you address people properly, you're able to navigate within this. You need to do your due diligence and watch family court for that. But that also means on your other side of things, in your men's group, therapy, psychology, whatever it is, you need to open yourself up and let all that shit out. I've had a men's group for a long fucking time and deep shit has been processed in it. And I'll tell you this, every time I tell somebody that I have a men's group, they say, that's so good. Man, men really need guidance these days because they're lost. And I'm like, man, what's that supposed to mean? Like it's such a weird thing because it's like they don't know what I do, but they assume what this means my job, right? And it gets worse every year actually. But for like 10 years, oh, that's great. Guys need that. Well, here's the interesting thing. What men's healing looks like is it's different than women's healing. It's not better or worse, but men heal differently than women. In fact, I would say men process. Men need to pass large things. Like when there's somebody who comes to a certain point of trauma or pain, it's going to be a different experience. Like, think about this. Oftentimes, when I'm talking to a therapist or a mental health professional, and my job comes up, they'll talk to me about how they make a man cry or something like that. And I always thought that was weird. Okay, so it's oftentimes, it's not everybody. There's great therapists, great mental health professionals out there. I am pro mental health professional, 100%, right? But there's problems with it. And this is why therapy is so problematic for men because so many different therapists and psychologists and so on walk in thinking that a man is already toxic. There's a danger to the way he thinks. There's a danger to his competition. There's a danger to his sex. There's a danger to how angry he can be. And that this all needs to be somehow reversed. And that they need to open up and let go. What's interesting is this usually follows the same model of what women have found a lot of relief in, which is great that they've done that. But the model for working through male trauma isn't based off of men. And this is my big problem with it, right? There's so many different ways to heal. There's so many different modalities of therapy. I don't want to be deterring from that. But what I want to say is what I've seen in just having a group of many men who've taken different roads of therapy, whether that's cognitive behavioral therapy, everybody dislikes that now, or there's some sort of attachment theory, or there's EMDR, all these different things, right? It is almost as if that it's got to follow a path of what we know from women healing and processing emotions, which is great and valid. What I have seen is it's different. You know, it's kind of a weird thing because we'll say things like one time, one of the things that I often say to people is I say, every aspect of toxic masculinity could have a value to it. Now, every aspect of what's said to be toxic masculinity could be dangerous and toxic, but usually it's rooted to something in our nature. So I brought this up, one of the times, and people jump at it. They say, what about rape? What about violence? And I'm like, okay, so really what you're talking about is a certain element of their sex drive. And so then the idea, so they always go for a big thing, that is like the mic drop moment that makes it impossible for you to have any discussion, not so that anybody could win, just so they could feel good about themselves and think they're right. But it's not getting to what could actually help men, right? This is a discussion that should be there to help them. I'm not here to win an argument. I'm here to learn more so that more men that at least I know can receive some help. This is my true motive, right? So in that, we're talking about a men's sex drive. Well, a lot of the ways that therapeutically we look at men and sex and their issues follows what we think they should be, so that they don't cause damage to women that they've hurt because these things could happen. So instead of any sexual expression being the possibility they could be regular or normal or have a regular or normal root, it's seen as something that could be dangerous first. This is huge, right? And just let's look at the flip side of this if this was with women, right? So let's say if a woman is, and again, I just want to say this, like comparison is there to show the value of an individual thing. Comparison, like, so men and women heal differently. I'll show you. It's not that one's better than the other. It's to recognize that, okay, men do heal differently than women. A woman heals like this and this way, and sometimes they sync up and it's great. But if I see one like the other, it causes a flaw. So that's the point of the comparison here. It's not like pain is worse or better than other people, but we recognize pain in women where, let's say, if she has some issues around sex and it's like, man, this would be abnormal or something like that. If we're looking at that, and let's say there was some abuse or something that happened to make this abnormal activity manifest, and we were to tell them, well, before we look at that, let's make sure you're not dangerous with that. So let's see you as potentially dangerous or toxic first before we give you any services, advice, or clarity on working through something that could be a real problem. That's the hurdle in front of every man. All right. So in this, one of them is also men don't cry. This is the last one. I go down with all the toxic masculinity stuff, right? And this is interesting because a lot of times with therapy, when I talk to mental health professionals, again, very pro mental health, it's the assumption that men should cry in the way that we would imagine it or see it on movies, or how women may cry when they release something. And again, it's not a comparison that one is devalued or anything like that. It's to show that there's a difference and a uniqueness, right? When I watch men let go of stuff, big stuff, when I watch men lose their kids, or when they call me, they're falsely accused of something and they can't see their kids, there's a criminal investigation, and their whole community's against them. And then when the guys who come to my group prove this in the criminal court, which is really hard to do, and they prove this in the criminal court, those friends don't come to apologize or anything, or there's no acknowledgement, there's no retribution they get for it. And those men are sad by it. They're not crying how you would think. And when I watch that, man, when I see that, that is an honorable tear. That is a profound action that I see. That's sad, that's tragic, but it is a father's love being wrung out of him by hatred and deception and all these different things. This is like the most terrible thing, right? And when you see that, you have the honor to see that, when you have the honor of a person coming to you with that, and what's told by the public is something else psychologically about men, that is a lie. That's a disgrace. That's not true. Because if you saw men cry how I've seen them cry, you would be proud to be a man, because you would get it. you'd go, man, just standing next to that guy walking through that, he doesn't realize he's a hero, but he is. We don't have any of that in our culture. Before a man can show an emotion, he has to be checked to make sure it's not angry. It's not some patriarchal whatever script. And his crying better be the right kind. And check this out. If a man doesn't emote in the right way or in a way that people are used to seeing, like most therapy circles, Instagram, self-help, whatever stuff, he's told, man, it doesn't work that way. You got to do it my way or you're toxic. This is crazy. The same society which says toxic masculinity exists because men told boys that you have to man up and not show your emotions is instead saying, heal like us and we tell you, or else we don't acknowledge you. That's so crazy. Like it's so nuts. And what's even more nuts is, again, if you actually helped men and worked with them, there's tons of them out there, man. You could just go down the street and you really work with a man in pain and you get to the solution. You don't just work with a man in pain and sell your, life coach, self-help, cool stuff and get him to buy some clothes and have confidence for a day or 6 months. You work with them through it. Man, you will see the reality of what real male processing and healing is, and it's honorable, it's righteous, it's awesome stuff. So in this, there's a lot of stuff that we have to go through in family court. In family court, there's a lot of PTSD. It's not acknowledged. It's written off. It's dismissed and diminished. Okay, so every time you go to your friends, every time you talk about false allegations, every time you go through the pain of this, people say, get over it. I had a really prominent, great men's group, but one of their members said, man, what the fuck, dude? Why is it that these guys bitch over and over again about this? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, of course they are. It's their family. No, man, they need to reframe it in their minds. Like, dude, look, I care about my life. I'm living my best life because of the decisions and choices I made. And I'm like, man, first off, the reality is that doesn't work for anybody. Anybody in high conflict who had that mentality gets broken. So if you work with the reality and really solve men's problems, you realize that's a lie. That doesn't happen. The strongest man will suffer in some way. He's going to be compromised. It's not because he's weak. And in fact, you saying that strength should override his pain of losing his family, not being able to see his kids, have his dream be crumbled, you should be upset about that. I don't want you to be upset, but the value of that is so great that you're upset by it. That's a huge thing. Like, we need to look at that. You need to start looking at men's groups. You start looking at men's groups that have men going through this situation. Otherwise, they're going to say that, man, you should get over it, or, my divorce wasn't that bad, or these types of things. Like, I think you should look at different forms of therapies. Some great books to read would be Paul Walker's CPTSD book. Awesome book. You should definitely read that. You should look at free groups, so different veteran support groups if you're a vet, or if there's a 12-step group or something along these lines. Oftentimes they're free, they're excellent, they're really good for this, okay? You could also look at The Body Keeps the Score, another great book on this, that look at how men process deep stuff. Sebastian Junger's books I think they're awesome, they're great. Especially when dealing with somebody who's a narcissist or somebody who has a personality disorder or traits like that, like even just borderline traits. This is something that's become extremely prevalent in my groups, and it's not a requirement. But if there's a guy being attacked by a borderline or a narcissist, usually he's a high achiever. So it doesn't have to be. Like being abused in that way, it's anybody, you need help, we're here to help you, right? But oftentimes he's a big achiever. He's super successful. He was always cleaning up her mess. This guy wins in every aspect of his life. And now it's crumbling away and he's losing. And one of the hardest things in that is to start examining the real questions in this, which are important. And if you're in knee deep in your legal battle, you don't need to think about this now, but just flag it in the back of your head for 18 months, 2 years when you can. Because you need to start looking at, why am I choosing these people? Why did I like them? It's not just the red flags. It's not just that they lied to you. There was more to it than that. Because again, in the real story of male healing and processing this through, with guys for long periods of time, like, is the demand and part of the promise in my group. It's the offer that if you want to go to the end, we'll go with you to the end. It's much deeper than that. This is not a quick fix. The bonds of making a family, of having a kid, of having kids, of being able to go through that commitment as a dad isn't just a couple decisions. It isn't the Tony Robbins seminar. It's a lot of deep work. If you were with a borderline or a narcissist, you were trained. You were chosen. You were chosen for traits you already had, and you were exploited for your best parts of yourself. Straight up, by definition. You helped them, and they helped you too. You were gaslit because you were moral, just, good, kind, saw the best in them, and they are now screwing you for it big time. Before they flipped off and cut it with you, they just subtly abused you and sucked you back in and gave you whatever adoration, attention, sex, validation, some sort of experiential thing that fulfilled you. And you didn't know why it would ever be a problem. You need to fix that stuff. Maybe not right now, but you need to fix that stuff. So let's get to this third part, and we're going to open up the lines. There should be guys showing up to the Zoom call now. If you're on the email list, you can get there. This next part is who you are afterwards. Being the best father you could be, being the best man you can be. How do you go through a legal battle and still function? How do you go through the abuse of a borderline woman, somebody who's attacking you, somebody who is bipolar, out for blood, and recover from that? And how do you do that in an environment that isn't serving you as a man? The men's advice is, well, just get over it. And the PC culture's advice is change in this way or go away. And some people, like, you might be able to do it all with breath work, yoga, and journaling, which are all great things. I do those things. Like, they're really important to me, but it's not the complete picture. You also, if you go to the man conference and put on the gloves and you punch and you scream and you do some breath work and you shake, and then everybody comes together and hugs. Awesome. That's good. I hope you had a good weekend. It's a longer road, man. Masculinity is deep. So how do you recover from all this stuff? How do you do it? Because I'm going to tell you this. Every man who comes to me who's getting his ass kicked in a divorce or a custody battle tells me how important it is to be a father, how important it is to be a man, how having that being taken away by the government, his ex, his own family, betraying his fatherly rights is something to die for. It's something for him to become a better man about, to ensure that he can pass on being a father to his kids. But very few men make it to the end. And it's not about being tough. It's not about being badass. It's not about being all this sort of stuff that the fantasy male superhero, whatever crap is about. What it's about is being able to tactically win in court, shut your emotions off, shut your anger off, shut your depression off, and be able to win. Look at that. It's also better if you can. How do you recover? How do you become the father afterwards? If you can keep your mental game strong in this. Can you take on the therapeutic journey? Can you process that anger in the right place? Can you process that rage, that vengeance, all these different things in the right place? If you can do that, that dream of being a father is still there. But if you can't, the men who give up, the men who get depressed, the men who, when they do finally get to see their kids, can't get past the pain. And I know that pain. I'm not hating on you for it. If you follow the general societal prescription for this, you'll probably end up there. So I don't want you to end up there. I don't want you to be the dad that resides on just ordering pizza and watching movies and not being able to connect with your kids after they've been parentally alienated from you. I want you to be able to build a new life with them and show them something new. And I'm going to tell you this, it's not going to be the same as like if you are being parentally alienated like I was. I had a whole fantasy of what this was going to be. And now, because I've led so many guys back to reunifying with their kids who were alienated from them for years, is that fantasy is almost never true. The lessons that you want to teach them, they're not going to be receptive towards right away. But because I've had a group where people came in and lost their kids when they were 3 years old for so long, those kids are now 20, graduating from college, or they came in when they were 6 or 7, those kids are now 25. I see what those kids needed from their dads who got the right medicine, treatment, way of life, the good men's circle that we evolved to become. I see what they needed. Because guess what happens when you've had a group that long? You see those kids hit reality, have problems, have kids of their own, get screwed over by a woman, get screwed over by a man, have a major tragedy happen in their life, and they need to have a father that knows the way. And especially if you're being attacked by a woman who's coming after you, she could heal. She has the opportunity to do it, but more than likely she won't, because there's not a lot, because it's hard to do. It's hard. So you need to be that dad that's there. The lessons that you're going to teach your sons, daughters, they're not going to be, well, it depends on the level of alienation. They're not going to be right away. It's going to come through your life. Your role, the dad is the long game. Mom's the long game too. But the dad is the long game. You, your wisdom, your virtue, your values, all of those things, all the things that are so important that you wanted to fight for your kids are things that are man, they're things that are going to manifest over a long period of time. And that's why you can't slip at this. You know, one of the things I love so much about coaching men on this is that so many men that work with me for their custody case will stay for like 15 years with me or something like that, right? There's guys from the very first group 17 years ago that lost their kids that are still active in my groups. And the reason why I love that is because you have to evolve. The demand is the better man. We come for whatever reasons, solving custody, PTSD issues around abuse, addiction, so on. But because the demand is to be a better man and to see how serious that is and to know how deep this went. That's the other thing too, is dealing with high conflict, dealing with high trauma. You have to go deep. You're not making it back up to the top without bringing in some other dark stuff. And within that, it builds an awesome community. So I want to tell you guys that your value of a father is going to be defined on not only you just doing your best in your court case. Okay, so if you're already losing really bad and you just can't salvage it, I understand. But we want to try and win that. We want to look at the free information that I have on that and get as much information as you can. Your mental, emotional game. Realize it's different. If you fight your mental game, your therapeutic game, your sadness, your anger, your pissed offness in the legal arena, you will lose, especially if you're going against a borderline chick or a narcissist, something like that. Okay? If you do these two things right, which are hard to do, they're not natural for us. They're counterintuitive. If you do those two things right, you are going to get to a point where you have the opportunity to be a good man. There's a whole bunch more to being a good man, a good father, somebody who can be there for his kids, somebody who knows the wealth and depth of your love to teach the life lessons that only pain can get you, that only men can show through virtue. This doesn't discount what women can show, but there's a specialness to what men bring out of our modern culture's pain and finding goodness in it. you have those things in front of you and you have to shape them. You're doing all of them at once. All of them will conflict with each other. And the only thing that brings them together is the one man there, the one man that is in your body. I'm going to open it up for questions on the Zoom line. If you're on TikTok and you have questions, write them in. I'll try and go back and look at them. And on YouTube, YouTube's been great, man. I'm getting all these comments on it. And I didn't even know you could do this on YouTube, but they're able to like donate money and stuff. You don't have to, but thank you so much. It's just so cool. So let me jump to the Zoom stuff and we'll see how it goes. Oh my God. I didn't know I had you guys. Oh my God. I had a waiting room going. Terrible. I'm so sorry, guys. But dang, more people joining. What's up, Zoom? Hey, I don't have you guys. I think I have your volume off right now. So I don't have you guys talking. Dudes on Zoom, you're more than welcome here, of course, obviously. Guys on whatever live streams, if you're not on Zoom, like the way you get onto Zoom is that you have to be on my email list, and I'll probably do 2 more live streams where we have this month. And I just want to, well, there's more people coming in. I want to let you guys know that if you're here and I call on you, that you can unmute and talk. If you're uncomfortable with talking, don't worry about it. There's no pressure. But I want to be able to answer live questions for you and kind of what is best about our group. There's also some guys who are in our group that are on the Zoom, and I would get their information, right? So if you're a part of this little free public community that we're having tonight, you get a little bit of a window into our paid community of some guys who've done some crazy stuff with their cases, or they're actively working on their cases. And again, we're just dads. If we fail legally or something like that, like, we don't want to, man. But if you need a lawyer, you need a lawyer. It's not legal advice. We have a lot of information and stories about us winning, but anyway, you guys get it. Understood, Zoom people? If you guys have questions, raise your hands and I'll call on you, and then I'll unmute, and just understand when you start talking, you're going to be recorded on the TikTok live feed, as well as the YouTube live feed, as well as my camera, which I might use this for some sort of information. And so I'll just call you by your first name and whatever other stuff. So yeah, raise your hands if you want to talk. If not, I'm going to talk to these dudes on TikTok. You know what's so crazy about the YouTube questions is they're written in really small print. It makes it harder. Okay, guys on TikTok, let me just tell you this. Like, I sent you a message or sending me your phone number, I'm not going to call you. And it's not because I dislike you. I'm just telling you this because I don't have time. Like, this is my full-time job, and I charge, at this point, $147 for an hour. What I give you for that is that you can write in your questions and I ask you to fill out all this stuff, but I wish I could talk to you all. So instead, what I do is I have 30 free lessons that are really good. I have 138 written things that get emailed to you. I have, like, this is all for free, okay? So I have all this stuff that you can consume. And if you like that, then I'm going to email you when we have these live streams where you can talk to me. So I'm going to talk to some people here. So please do it that way, because, like, I'll tell you this. I woke up at, I don't know, 9 or something. I woke up pretty late. I did a 2-hour morning routine from 11 a.m. till now. I've had nonstop calls with people. So I'm constantly busy. Tonight will be 6 hours of group calls. So I understand that you have a horrible tragedy going on, but if you message me on TikTok, I won't be able to get back to you for a while, or on Direct Me or wherever, or on Instagram. It would be your best bet emailing me. And then if you don't like that, then I'm sorry. But I've gotten like all sorts of death threats and wishes upon hell on earth because I don't message you back. That's not a good thing to do. And especially for somebody who does this, gives away a lot for free. Don't do that. All right, we got Kenneth. Kenneth, if you're cool with your audio being recorded, I got my volume on. I can hear you. These guys can hear you. Give it to me, baby.
Steve, I love this cult.
Hey, dude, this Kenneth. I know this Kenneth. Hey, no, man. But for real,
this is a great group. No, actually, something that came up today that I didn't mention in our call earlier was that in my parenting plan, one of the stipulations that was put in, 8-9 years ago, was that if I didn't, because I was living out of state at the time, if I didn't visit at least like 6 times a day, I would have to pay an extra $50 a month the next year. And I was doing well with that up until 2019 when I lost my job, and I then moved to Minnesota, and then COVID hit, and then I didn't travel, for like that whole year up until like the fall of 2020 when I came back here to Florida, my current state. And I'm curious if I actually asked my lawyer, he hasn't really answered, but curious as your take here. I'm curious if they could use that against me as leverage since it's been so long. I've been back for, a few years now, almost 5 years. Never said anything. Mom never said anything, but I'm just curious if you have any thoughts on that.
Wait, so how much money would that be? So for X amount of years when you were in Minnesota, you couldn't visit, so then you owed more a month.
Correct. Yeah. So
that's so crazy.
An extra $150 a month. Extra.
So crazy.
Yeah, I don't even know why I agree with that stupid stipulation. It's ignorance, I guess.
That's a weird one, man.
Yeah. They got me, and I don't know if that's gonna hurt me, going into mediation or not, or if they're gonna try to use that as leverage.
But, dude, if they don't know it, they don't know it. But
they know it. She trusts me.
Okay.
Yeah, she knows. Yeah, it's in there. She knows it. She just never brought it up, and I'm guessing she's gonna wield that now.
Yeah.
And try to go back all those years.
Yeah. So, hey, just to tell all of you fans out there on the YouTubes and TikTok, dude, you got to do your due diligence on this. You have an attorney. I know you. So, like, you have to do that. But in this, man, I mean, what would the judge want to hear? Like, really? And you'll be able to tell that pretty quick, right? So first off, in all negotiations, I would not bring it up. And then when they bring it up, I would say, well, how is this relevant? And I would also look at what would a judge in your state and county, or your specific judge, what would they normally sign off on? If that would be ridiculous or whatever. I've never heard this, but as you heard on the call earlier, if you play it right with your setup of your case, your design of your interrogatories, depositions, all these different things like child support or alimony, it's a pretty, I don't want to say it's a negotiable thing, but people can agree to all sorts of interesting stuff, which kind of sounds like what happened to you, unless this is regularly decided upon in the courts. But if it's not, then there's a high probability that a judge wouldn't sign off on it. And here's what I'd say. Like, you're in the group, so you kind of know. All right. So number one, if it's not regularly signed off in court by a judge, then you could probably argue it. If it's still argued, you could give a reasonable solution. So it'd be something like, well, okay, you know, if that's the case and I'm owed somehow back, that could add up, man, $150 every month, you know, for a couple of years. That gets to be, you know, it's like, hey, here's $7,000, you know, that you owe us or something like that. If that's the case, you could actually do a couple arguments. You could say, well, would it be more reasonable that I do these things, or like I offer to pay for something ahead, like if they're in some extracurricular activity that you have decision making or you have equal decision making power on, that you're going to pay a bigger percentage on that. And so then it's still kind of following the same math, but you're paying 70% of that instead of 50-50 or something like that. And you offer that solution. So you offer a solution that's reasonable within the courts, and that it could even, the cool thing about the group is that somebody could have done it in their Colorado court and you're trying it in your state's court. So you could reference there. It's a little bit of a play, but because there's it's a gray area, right? You know, it's kind of like a decided upon, agreed upon thing that you're offering that. And then the other thing you could do is if it is seen as backed, then it will all be a negotiation with the attorney general, which could suck, but it takes it off of her bargaining table. So no longer is it going to influence her leverage towards you. You could say, man, you know, this is terrible. Let's take it up with the attorney general. And that can suck. And the money will still go to her, but it's between you and the AG instead of her having it as some sort of bargaining chip, right? And then also think about the actual amount. So with however many years, however much it adds up to be, what's that amount and where can it play out? Like, you know, first off, like we want to be responsible for what we have, but if it's for some extracurricular activity in the future or something like this, right? You don't know if it's going to happen. You don't know if you have equal decision making on it. You know, of course, it could be manipulated in all these different ways, but you want to be able to move it forward in the future, if possible, and see if that can work. But man, it's a huge gray area thing. So just think of this: whatever solutions that may be offered in other states, because this is common of dads who are behind in child support, where it's agreed upon with the mom. And then also, if there's something negotiating with her, there could be a possibility where like, it's like, look, you have this and that, and we'll agree to keep this out of the case if you forgive this. That could be another thing. So that would be one way she might have power, is to be able to forgive the child support discrepancy. But man, these are all things that in this, I'm pretty confident talking to you about this because I know you can run it all by your lawyer and work with them on it. Make any sense?
Yeah, for sure. One of the things that I thought about doing was one, argue that I didn't want to travel during COVID because I didn't, want to sick and not be able to, lose my job and not be able to pay. That's part of it. But I do like the other ideas of offering other solutions. And then the only other thing that just came to mind is trying to use, because we did ask for, since we technically put in contempt of court, is not making her pay or not requesting the fees, basically. You know what I mean? So, because right now we put in contempt, that's like the motion we filed, and then we're also requesting lawyer fees along with it. That's why I don't think she wants, I'm hoping she doesn't want to go past mediation, but if she does, I'm going to continue putting pressure, and actually we may modify the contempt because we just compelled her today to give us all her financial affidavits and mandatory disclosures, which she hasn't given to us, and it's been, months now. So trying to use those things.
Hey man, in your case, you have a lot of things procedurally that are an advantage. It's pretty cool, dude. Because she's so resistant, and it's almost like you could calculate it at this point of how she's just going to be non-compliant, man. Like it's going to the more you push towards those things that matter, the more she's going to be a problem, and the more she's going to go in with her ego and not like, so if she does it because her attorneys are like, look, you got to do this, like she's still going to screw it up. So the more, like, so check this out, man. You know, one of the things that we were working over today, it was if you truly have psychological disorder and it's something you can prove, get as much of it as you can. And then hammer with the process. So everybody hates family court, right? But if you have somebody that is resistant to like whatever psychological disorder that, you know, you assume they have, and they may have a diagnosis, but it, like, this is overwhelming. It's not the usual, my ex is a narcissist thing. It's just, man, nonstop insanity. And you don't, like, you're hiding it, right? Well, in this case, she's obviously, predictably going to not want to be a part of it. She's going to lie about certain things, you know, lie about business, jobs, all this sort of stuff. And so when that happens, you know it's going to happen. How can you get her more on the record? How can there be affidavits, which she's not being compliant towards? Okay, so how can we get that in a courtroom quicker? You might not want to do that because that gets expensive for your attorney. How can we offer deposition? She's going to deny it all, you know, and so I'd have to give it some thought, but if you could start pushing in that way, it will make it more impossible for her to set foot in a courtroom, not because you're trying to screw her over, because she's not doing the process that the state has agreed is the best process for the case. And so I think you should start thinking about how you can use that process, whatever it is, man. And I get it, she's not doing any of it. So then it would be mediations and hearings. And man, it will become harder for her. And it will move into a settlement. And again, when I use words like forced settlement, it's like, well, then you're manipulating it. No, we're telling you literally do the system so that she can choose. And her pattern has been that she's not willing to do that. So, you know, whatever. You get what I'm saying? Maybe. You got to unmute.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's helpful. And I plan on just letting her do what she's gonna do, and she is like clockwork. I mean, even today, she for a parenting conference, she's like, "I want an administrator." When I should have just let her ride, but she said, "I want an administrator present," and I'm like, "They already put us on the spot. They already told us that if we don't co-parent effectively for our daughter's, you know, academics, they may kick her out." You know, I'm just like,
dude, that whole thing is so screwed up.
Yeah.
So, it was all a lie too, man. Jesus.
Yeah. So I'm fine. I'm letting her like dig her own hole, and then just making sure that I have a trail, because at this point I don't know what else to do. So, but I appreciate the advice and the ideas.
Man, so on the free public group, we only have 9 people who've called in, and I want to get through all of them. But on our call before, there were like 28 people. It's crazy. Hey, so a couple things here. So guys, I'm gonna put your back on mute. So if you unmute and start talking, the crowd's not gonna hear you. I just want to say this because I want you guys to talk if you want to talk. Just raise your hand if you want to ask a question. And know that when I call on you, what's going to happen is that try not to say too much personal about your case. Okay, so it's being, it's being recorded, it's being broadcast online. So be careful with that. All right. Not legal advice, all that sort of good stuff. This is all at your own risk. I can just tell you what has worked for other dads and bounce ideas off. What we talked about with Kenneth's, like, I know more about his case. And then also, I know he has a good relationship with his attorney and trust with his attorney, which is really important. So in all of that, also, if you get nervous or scared, cool. Who cares? Like, you can mute up. I prefer a dialogue, but if you're feeling uncomfortable, no big deal. No big deal, right? Like, this isn't to make you feel pressured to share too much or anything like that. But yeah, so whoever wants to talk next, you can raise your hand. I'll call on you. And I have not lifted the speakers up yet. Let me do that. And I'll call you by your first name. Tim, what's up, baby? How are you?
Hey, Steve, big fan. Really appreciate you doing this and extending this opportunity. I guess I'll condense what's going on in my custody case of over 2 years now. Hard to believe. I have had a GAL report and a GAL addendum only improve the recommendations each time. I've willingly gone through multiple mental health evaluations with only better results each time. Mother is now trying to set those aside, and in her settlement offer, first go at it, she's attempting to still trying to extend the supervised visits that were all glowing. I've gone through the gauntlet willingly. She's trying to still make those a part of it in the criteria. I'm trying to understand how to get those out for good, as it's clear they're not needed. And I'm also wondering your advice on trying to position. She introduced our daughter to a boyfriend and told us after the fact. How and should we try to maybe limit overreaching family members and future boyfriends, or how to set up a process for that? I know I just asked a lot there, but yeah, I'll definitely pause.
So good stuff, man. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it. All right, man. So first thing to look at is what state and county are you in? You don't need to answer that because we're probably not going to get too into it. But those are the boundaries of everything. And if you've watched a bunch of my stuff, which you've said, you kind of know that that's a big thing. So you want to know what your judge is normally going to think about, because that's the end all be all. What in a trial would a judge rule upon? And then that's your arguing point, right? So in these cases where there's supervised visitation, you don't have to answer this and think about it, just we're public, right? So why did you get supervised visitation? Was there a temporary protective order? Were there restraining orders? And you could even type it in if you want, and I cannot say it.
Yes, there was. And our daughter was just thrown under that umbrella. No abuse ever, no teacher complaints, no neighbors, nothing. She was just thrown in.
It was dismissed.
No, that's been extended throughout as a blocker intentionally. But the visits have been upheld as well. We've had 3 judges, 2 new ones appointed in my state, and they were too nervous to supersede the first order from a veteran judge who actually retired. So very bizarre series of events that kept those visits in place when I'm being applauded and exalted in the supervised center as someone who never should have stepped foot in here to begin with.
Man, so the best piece of advice I could give you is if there's guys on here that have been in this situation in my groups, I would put your number in the chat and see if they call you and talk to you, because here's I'm going to give you some direct advice that's not legal advice, and I'm going to give you some here's what I see guys who win in this. It's so mind-bending and frustrating every single step. You go to court, you go to supervised, you get wins, you get losses. It's unfair over and over and over again that it's so easy to lose it. So the guys in our groups who same situations, and oftentimes worse, they're still dealing with a protective order. They're begging for a couple hours here and there where they're paying for, where the mom interferes with. And, it's like they show up to the supervised visitation, they're paying $500 for it. And then the kids don't show, they're still paying for it. And then they have to file contempt charges. And, it's crazy, right? It's so mind-bending that you've got to have other guys that have been through this, that have won, that tell you hey man, I know it. And it's so much different than somebody else telling you hey man, it's going to work out. When you know a guy who has given his life to save his kids and it worked and he's gone through the same thing as you listen, And so that's real value. That's the most valuable thing. If you had the worst of everything, in fact, there's guys in our groups who've gone to prison and all this, it's horrible, right? And if you have still, this is how bonded some of the guys in our groups are. they stay in contact with those people who, and we've looked at their cases, like I would dead set say, falsely accused, got horrible due process, all this sort of stuff. That's so valuable to have brothers, true support system take you through. And now you're going like, but Steve, give me the advice, right? Okay. You need to have the idea to win this case, which sounds impossible. Okay. What you want to do is you need as much third party for exactly what they are. Okay. So supervised visitation isn't giving too much of a recommendation. Like they're gonna give their 2 cents on it. But the recommendation is going to be GAL, custody evaluators, any CPS stuff, in long-term engagement from all those people. So very oftentimes, this is another, man, this is just like what's happening with your judge. Exactly what happened with the veteran judge, right? Oftentimes, GALs, their first couple times, and court-appointed therapists, same thing, they're too afraid to state what they think is going on. Because if they're wrong, there's so much consequence for like endorsing abuse towards women, abuse towards kids, that they're afraid to touch it. And it's safe to say like, well, men could be. We're safer off. You know, the toxic masculinity, men could be. Now, I want law to work, right? So when I'm saying this, like last night on last night's TikTok, they were like, so you're teaching men to make women go crazy and discipline? No. Like, I don't want anybody to get a bias thing, right? But what you need to see is that court-appointed therapists, GALs, friends of the court, custody evaluators, a big one. It's going to be more expensive and long-term and more thorough. I want to ask about your mental health evaluations, if they were psychological evaluations, or they were court-ordered or not. And you can write in the chat, but let me just finish this thought, or you can tell me. But you want them to speak exactly for what it is. So I would say it's real important if you can get a custody evaluator. So they're going to interview you, the child, your ex. They're going to investigate it more long-term. And they're even going to walk in with a little bit of this bias. I don't want them to. I wish they were trained better. You know, and I have a lot of ideas on this that aren't just like blame, blame, blame. People aren't really trained with mental health. They're trained with domestic violence, abuse towards kids, and these things, which is great. Like, we should have that. But when it's exploited and gotten wrong, those cases aren't studied. So they're going to be a little bit cautious towards anything she's doing wrong and more cautious towards you. That's usually the lean, okay? And not always, but usually the lean. GAL, I think you've experienced that maybe a little bit. You didn't say so, but I'm just going to guess it because that's usually the process. And a court-appointed therapist, man, we'll tell you the timeline from our group. And this is pretty consistent, but again, no guarantees. But state to state, pretty consistent. First 3 months, all this interference from the mom, dad venting, finally somebody's listening to me, kind of makes the dad look bad. They don't expect it, but it's like in the report, it's not solid saying exactly what happens. The next 3 months after you go to court the first time, then the therapist is like, something's going on here. And then usually after that second period, they'll flip if the dad's doing everything right and the mom's still interfering, right? Those are ifs, right? Then that therapist will flip and heavily recommends what's going on. But I'll tell you right now, on our calls tonight, actually, I could be getting this timeline wrong, but this happened in this gentleman's case. But almost a year ago, this gentleman had court-appointed therapist, wasn't working, therapist flipped. Okay, just kind of in the timeline that we said. Always wanted more. But then there were, like, he got custody, he got some good time, criminal allegations lifted, then family court allegations lifted, protection orders dismissed, all that sort of stuff, okay? Then a GAL more recently got involved, saw a lot of stuff, told the dad, man, you got it. This happens all the time. And then the report didn't share that same thing. Didn't necessarily take custody away from the dad, but you know, those are big blows. And then I'll tell you this, the dads that win are the dads that keep going after that. Not keep going like I snap into a Slim Jim and I'm badass or whatever, but they just keep walking forward. You just keep walking forward, keep walking forward. It's a different type of discipline. So that's why it's important to have like the dad club or men who've been through this, because you're so frustrated. Like, it's true injustice. This hurts your kid. This is the biggest mind fuck. And you're trying to recover from it, but you gotta go back to the legal strategy game. No emotion. Step forward. Step forward. I love the process. You know, you don't, but like, I'm willing to do the process, and that's hard. I'm telling you this, and this is like I'm not a normal person anymore in my life because of going, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so hard. So I'm not trying to make it easy or some decision or an aspect of discipline that's right there. It's kind of like one of the impossible things. With the were they psych evals, or were they okay? They were multifaceted, in depth, and glowing each time. Went through them. Actually, if you wrote this in, I shouldn't be reading it. I'm sorry, man. So you did well. Were they court appointed or no? They were court appointed. And did the facilitator write up a report? Each time. And in that, you can unmute if you're willing to talk about this. You don't have to either.
Yeah, sure. Happy to.
Sorry about that. I should
No
be
worries.
on point with all this. So, okay, so they were court appointed. They gave a report. And did that report recommend anything custody-wise, parenting time, stuff like that?
No, they were just there. The first one, the opposing counsel played some tricks and games on the newly appointed judge, judge number 2, or judge 3. The opposing counsel persuaded the judge that it wasn't in depth enough. It needed to have more parameters, but there was no testing objective. They were just on a fishing expedition, hoping to find something or frustrate me. And I said, test away. I'll do every test imaginable.
Was there any
faith reported?
Sorry about that. Was there any diagnosis given to her or no?
No. Just
okay.
The second evaluator said someone under this level of duress during this divorce experience quite often displays these symptoms. But there's Tim's primary care therapist in his own life have never diagnosed him with anything. And I'm in that position here. So it was just a smoke and mirror show that I said, I will test out of anything that they try to have me go through last minute, just to trip me up.
You need to get, so if it's possible to get a test that gives a diagnosis to her, that's the main thing. So you're clean. Like, that's pretty clear.
Yes, I'm thinking of having that as a requirement as part of the settlement potentially. She needs to go through one for consciously making these choices, prolonging, pursuing the litigation when GAL and testing are saying, this is not what it seemed. We need to put our guns down. And, 2 years into this, I think there's something going on there.
It really depends on how your court runs things, but obviously the argument, and it's easier said than done, but the argument would be, dude, and I would do this, I would put your number in the chat and see if any of these dudes will hit you up, because they may have been in a similar boat. And even if you type in like your state and county, it could be something that they might be in your state and county. So they might know a little bit more, because the guys that are in my group are just real time working all the time. So I would think, let me just get my train of thought again here. All the crazy stuff is it distracts you a little bit. So I would think that if you get some sort of psych eval that says something about her, you then have more of an argument of, so right now she just has traits and she could have had a bad day. Let's say, like, I don't know what she's done, but like she lied about a bunch of stuff and bad things happened, and it's real obvious, but a court can't diagnose anybody. So it's just like they're arguable points, right? And what you want,
what's gone on is actually she's sold the court on one narrative, and she was telling the pediatrician, which I found in visit notes, Tim and I have split custody, daughter misses him dearly. the public narrative is so warm, fuzzy, and normal. The court narrative is vicious and everything you would expect. And I've actually found evidence of this and caught her in her own story. It just took 2 years to do that.
Yeah, but so this doesn't matter. It doesn't matter of what she's telling her friends or even lying or even you. Like if you wanted to lie about everything, right? And say that, you know, she's Godzilla and you're on here, whatever, like it doesn't really matter, right? Like, so it can, but it's a low level argument. Like you need the lies to be in court. You need all of that stuff to be exposed in the process of evidence. So whether that's interrogatories, affidavits, depositions, testimony, anything like that, that's where you need to show that she's changing her story for somebody else.
Yes,
So,
we actually just got a gift in our lap earlier this year where she tried to claim I verbally violated the restraining order. 1 month later, where she extended it 12 more months, she was cross-examined by my attorney and she said, Tim has not contacted me in over a year. So right then and there, the trap did its job.
hey, you know, there's a couple things. I don't hand out anybody in my group's information unless they give permission, but there's some people in your area that I know. You're on my email list. Just click reply on the email, say you were talking to me on last night's live stream, and I'll try and see if some of these guys will talk to you. You sound really together with this. You have a good case, man.
I appreciate that.
So this is like, so everybody listening, he's done a lot of things right, and he's not fallen into the traps from what I can hear, right? You know, I'm assuming a lot. You need to either, and I'm using kind of like layman's terms here, you need to break the process of the courts. They're not used to this, right? And they're waiting to switch. Kind of like I was describing, the therapist is you know, will switch after 3 or 4 months.
That's right.
The judge will start to get frustrated, and you need to find out what that is, whatever that is, and push. And it's all process. It's just what interpretation of the process. So it's not like heated stuff, which you don't sound like a guy that is, you know, doing vigilante stuff right around the custody case.
No. What I did, I stopped communicating via the texting app, and I consciously slowed down the pace, the relentless pace they had set. And the extra time in this case has exposed how it was built on kind of hyperbole, excitement, accusations, and it's just it was a house of cards. I consciously noticed that, almost like a sporting event, one team controls the tempo and the plays, and the other team is on their heels. I said, I'm going to take control of this speed and completely shift this. And my attorney said that that outcome occurred. It just took a grueling 10 to 12 more months, but that did the trick.
Yeah, and your state can be expensive, man. Like a lot of guys, yeah, they've dumped a lot of money, you know. And it's one of those weird things, because like, well, then go pro se. Things could still cost a lot of money. But look, man, I think, like, so you don't have a diagnosis with her, so it's like you just got a clean bill yourself. You don't really have anything against her. But
oh yeah, we're asking for half of those costs back because they were duplicative, and the results got better, and they were consciously requested just to prolong pain and suffering, and it was a fishing expedition each time. Now we're asking for half of those fees back.
Yeah, but check this out. So you might need to move past that, because this is kind of like an inert thing. It was defense and it's not offense. Okay. So you need to find out what's going to be the offense to really bring to light, in the language of the court, how she's wasting time, disrespecting the court. And you need to figure out, like, because everybody has a pattern. Dysfunction is always going to repeat, right? And so you have to look at, like, okay, why would she tell the friends this story? Why would she tell the family pediatrician or whoever it was, you know, this thing?
Oh, no, it was the pediatrician. In the visit notes.
Yeah.
She undermines. Daughter was always safe, never touched either of us.
No, okay. But hold on, man. I'm trying to get to a point here. And so she's telling a certain number of people with certain personalities one thing, and she's telling another in the court. So with all these people, like you, me, the most disciplined person and the most badass mentally ill person, they're not going to be able to compartmentalize that in a courtroom. So you need to start looking like, what is the motive of why they would tell the pediatrician that? And on the surface, it's like, well, because they wanted to make friends or they're, whatever. But there's something there where that could be repeated in some sort of affidavit or deposition or whatever. Have you done any depositions, and like what kind of discovery have you guys done?
Yes, yeah. Oh, and our deposition of her went extremely well for us too. She admitted to parents giving financial gifts for legal fees. She was kind of sleepwalking through marital therapy beforehand. The entire case itself is built on kind of the disconnect and bad communication that happened after she moved out. Nothing is from the actual marriage, and there's really no basis for why she chose to leave. She just suddenly did after a long time.
Okay, so here's what to look for in these things. Is obviously like depositions, it's great evidence. A lot of the stuff of what you have is great evidence, but it's being seen right now, and it could be because this isn't there. There isn't an offensive game plan from there to put pressure, but all of it's just kind of clearing you and doing the right thing. And there needs to be something that, like, she made false allegations, man, like she is interfering with your custody time. This, like, there's no reason for it. So there's more in there of what she is doing. Like, you don't just make up a lie about that and then everything else is like perfect in the procedure. And you got to find that, because it's probably there where there's some sort of line. Like if she's lying to one party and she's going to lie somewhere in things that are under oath and that sort of thing, more than likely. And you want to find that, and then you want to find it, is it a big deal or not? Can this prove like a character trait? Can this prove something that would show some sort of pattern? And then where could it be argued? If you had go ahead.
Oh, sure. I was going to say, I mean, I think being on our third judge was a gift to her team, and they got to run the same offense and plays each three.
Yeah. They just repeat it. Yeah.
Which got those extensions and those extra considerations because those judges wanted to protect their own behinds. And now we're at this accumulation of an excessive amount of time for a case that did not merit it. And to your point, it's vexatious and malicious litigation. And until they're told to stop, it will not. That is also driving it too, based on the reputation of her firm. Like that is clear as can be.
Really quick, I want to see if, so you guys, you don't have to, but only people who are on my groups, not public people, even if you've been on multiple times. I appreciate you. Do you guys have any comments that you'd like to say to Tim? And you guys don't have to, just because this is being recorded.
I'm sorry to dominate the agenda here.
No, it's cool.
Give other folks a chance.
No. Man, I appreciate it. I like it when people come on and they want to win. One of the dudes says case law. Yeah, okay. I'll say this, like, our calls exist off of community. Some of the guys hopefully hit you up, shoot me an email. I'll try and get you, tomorrow. I'm always busy, dude, but I'll try and play the relay of some guys who might be able to relate with you on some things. And man, you're in a good spot, dude. You need a judge to stay, and it's awesome. It's just in a spot where you're playing the family court rodeo, man. It's what happens. And what I will say, like straight up, like a lot of people watching, listening, wherever on the YouTube or TikTok feeds, like if you think this sounds regular and it makes you mad, I'm right there with you. But if you use that as an excuse to quit, I'm telling you not to. Like, your excuses to quit are that this is too overwhelming, it's wrecking your case, whatever, that sort of thing. Like, your mental health isn't there. I understand that. That's not the reasons. But because the courts are unfair, that's not a reason. Because there's a way. Like, you should always look. Okay, so if you're still mentally sound, you can financially handle it. You need to have the perspective. And the only reason why I say this is because the guys in my group who win almost always have this. With all of these hiccups, it's like, okay, what could I do to change it? What's my angle? What could I do to win? What could I do? And it's not like I'm going to win because I don't give up. It's literally like, okay, what can I do? Okay, I'm really pissed off. I'm going to spend a week mourning the tragedies of family court, which is for real. And then I'm going to get back to what could I do better? Not because I'm bad, but because that is the nature of the game. All right. So, Tim, thank you so much. I'm putting you guys on mute for just 1 second. And then let me say this as we're waiting. First off, I appreciate you guys who've all spoken up. Shelby has her hand up. I'm unisex in this, don't mind, but my group, the paid groups, are usually only for men. We used to have women on, and it was great, but it was hard because there's a difference when you get to the emotional, like the real crazy stuff, and much different. And so we process a lot of that stuff with the guys. And it was just difficult to have both. And I only have so much time. Like, I work so much. If I could make it for women, I would have a designated women's group, designated men's group, and then I'd have unisex calls, which is kind of how we did it before. But it was difficult. So, Shelby, I just want to say, not legal advice. You're more than welcome to talk. I haven't taken the speakers off the computer yet. If something's too much, just mute up. You don't need to be pressured into anything here. I don't know. What else am I missing? It's being recorded. People are going to hear you. Be careful about sharing the details of your case. There you go. What's up, Shelby? I can hear you.
Hi. So obviously I'm Shelby, and I appreciate the preface of female versus male, and I get it. However, I am in a sticky situation. So I believe you're in Austin. I'm up near the Dallas area.
Cool.
So going to court, I have my fiance and I, we have one shared child, and we have two previous from past relationships. And his ex and him have been going at it for, years in the court. And pick your poison. It's happened. It's been said. It's been fought. Anyways, with me, I have one child shared with an ex, and we separated. Everything was going really good. We were very amicable. It was very, if you want a miss day, I'll take a miss day, very peaceful. Insert his new wife. And that new wife comes in, and I had at that time started seeing my fiance now. And my fiance now, his ex, took it upon herself to obviously, do the stalking, do the creeping, do all the things that women do. And she became buddy-buddy with my ex's wife. Well, here we are now, and both of them are trying to come after us for our kids. And it's like a game of pinball, and we're the ball, and they're controlling it. And his wife, or his ex-wife, my fiance's ex, created grooming allegations 2 weeks ago, sought out an EPO, got that granted just based off of his past history of being arrested in his earlier years and, just whatever. But she looped grooming into it. So, okay, let me backtrack. Insert them having a relationship, my ex's wife and his ex. They retain the same attorney. So we're fighting both of them. Our cases are papers being swapped, emails being sent, whatever they're doing on the back end. And if he has a court date, I'm subpoenaed to speak. If I have a court date, he's subpoenaed to speak. Yeah. And we are in a moment of, what do we do here? How is this just? How is this okay? How do they have, because initially we were like, well, maybe it's a conflict. It's not a conflict. We looked into it. But it's just, it's a really piss poor situation to be in, because their goal is to not only alienate, it's already happening,
Mm-hmm.
but to fully remove, and they are not scared to lie to get that to be what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So in your opinion, we are pro se. We had an attorney that was a bust. And we've had a few wins, few losses, more loss than wins, but we've gone up and we've gone down. And our biggest thing when we get into court is authentication of text messages or this or that. And we battle with that because
What do you mean, the evidence isn't filed properly, or like what?
So, like at a hearing, we had a hearing
Uh-huh.
a week ago, and this was for my fiance's case. And every single thing that we had produced, we went about it the right way. We were very in order. We followed the court etiquette, and it was their attorney, I know, is rubbing elbows with whomever the judge is somewhere, some way. That's fine. We can see straight through that. But when it came to sitting the witness down, talking about the evidence, asking to submit it, their attorney would object, and he would go down a Rolodex of objections until the judge was like, okay, I'll make that one applicable. And authentication was our biggest one. We had business record affidavits, we had this, we had that. We got a few things in, but we weren't understanding why we were struggling with the other items to get those in. It didn't make sense to us.
Man. So Shelby, and you can unmute, you can dialogue back and forth if you want. It's all good.
Okay.
Man, you're in the pro se, like, doldrums.
We're in the Thunderdome of hell in court right now.
So, okay, so check this out. Here's the biggest thing. There's a grooming allegation against your fiance, correct?
Yes, we got it shot down. It
Okay,
was shot down.
good.
We went through other routes. It was shut down legally, but as far as hearsay and throwing it out in the court, they're having a heyday with it.
So what are you in court now for? Is it?
So
go ahead.
Right now, we both filed in March to take them back to court to work on a modification of the entire order. He was at a temporary order that was way overdue because he had an attorney that had, I don't know how to say it. He had expired himself.
Oh, geez.
And then, yes. And then I did not have an attorney at the time, so we retained one. We both filed, said, we're going through this, and this, and we want our kids more time. We want them to be same schedule, just more realistic for our days and for our schedule and for our availability. And we have a shared child, so just a lot of things. But as soon as we did that, it was slam, bam, EPO, you're this way, you're that way, when for so long it was stagnant of silence. And then we knew as soon as it was filed that they were going to try to pull something out. And that's why it's so hard for us, because we study our videos like crazy. We get a notepad and start going, but, and we've sat and watched our court. Our biggest thing is, how do we combat the lies? And it's not even a lie where you take a little thing and you make it one big thing. It's like a lie out of left field. Yeah.
So, man, you got to not. I mean, you got to. You don't want to argue it how they're arguing it. You want to argue it with procedure, right? And so then it's like easier said than done, right? Here's what I want to say in this, what I'm thinking, which could be good or bad. So they have the same attorney. This almost happened to me once, right? And I'm glad it didn't, although it didn't all work out in the best, because attorneys make mistakes. That attorney's going to make the same mistake. Do you have the same judge or no?
They have, him and I had the same attorney that we both let go.
No, but do you have the same judge? Is the judge the same in both your cases?
He has, his judge is, I'm glad I don't have his judge, but I'm not glad that he has that judge, because his judge is very he goes golfing with her attorney. Let's put it that way.
Mhm.
Every weekend.
Mhm. Man. I so in DFW, I know people in all these circles, kind of, sort of. I don't know, obviously, who your or the attorneys are or whatever. But and is this in Tarrant, Dallas, or Denton?
We are up in Denton County.
Okay, okay. Hey, look, I'm going to tell you this. Like, if you can scrape something together to be in my groups, it would be the best money ever spent. But in that being said, I want to give you as much as I can now.
Okay.
And here's why. There's like people up in Dallas that do really well and have done some pro se, run out of money with lawyers. And then also, if you can afford a lawyer, this is another thing too. Like, so my group would give you a lot of help with organizing and keeping your head on and like maybe Denton
We've
system.
got that part down.
Okay.
I will say we are very composed.
Well,
just
but
about
in the
everybody is
courtroom
like,
too, and
yeah,
that sort
yes,
of thing,
we do well in the courtroom.
Okay, good.
We obviously, we both have our points of getting upset, but we get the
Yeah.
appropriate amount
Yeah.
of upset where it's supposed to be catered to as far as our care for our children.
So in our groups, the most recommended lawyer that has the best record, the best, is not in Austin, it's in DFW. So I'll say his name because he's awesome. Now, he may not be great for your case. You might not be able to afford him, whatever. But even getting a consultation with him might be good, might not be his thing. But it's Lester Reed. This dude I've referenced 20 or more dads to in DFW. And I mean, man, like hard cases, like this is the guy. Okay. Might not be the guy for you, but 20, that's kind of crazy, right? To have that many good references from an only high conflict group. Like he's pretty awesome. Now, can be difficult to get a hold of, all that sort of stuff. Awesome in trial. He's the man in court. And he if you even hired him for a consultation, he might tell you what's good. Now, another thing is that, so a bunch of the guys in my group have used them, but what are you worried about with the lies? Like, are they relevant in court? You got the EPO, but
no, so it will be okay. You know what? I'll just go ahead and throw one out to you. So me and my fiance, I refer to him to my husband a lot. So he's my fiance. We get married in November. Okay.
Mhm.
We've been together for over 6 years. We get married in November. We have both been sober. I've been sober almost 3 years. And this is just from alcohol. We've never had any other substance abuse issues. Almost 3 years. He's been sober for over 2 years. And we tell people this, and we've made it very apparent. I mean, I've done a psychological evaluation, all of the things, and it's been made very apparent. My bachelorette party was in September. We rented a beach house. All the girls rode on my car for our road trip down. Buy her a shot, she's tying the knot. Not because I'm going to drink, but because why not? It's fun. I took my daughter to the movies, mine and his shared daughter. And next thing you know, they have a court case. They were supposed to have one this past week. It got reset. Anyways, that was submitted into evidence so that they could say, there's no possible way. She's definitely drinking and just all kinds of things. And there was one time 6 years ago, here's another instance, him and I got into an argument, okay, a big argument. And nothing crazy happened, but his daughter came in. She had woken up in the middle of the night and came in and heard us yelling. And so I was just like, I'm so sorry. And I left. Well, because of child's mother being how she is, he was like, hey, just letting you know, child entered a room, don't know what she heard, thought she was asleep, it was late. And next thing you know, she ran with that and went to court at their next upcoming hearing and got on the stand and said that I had physically attacked their child. No proof, just got it out.
Sure.
And my fiance, this was like 3 or 4 years. No, this was in 2021. My fiance didn't get his discovery in by the deadline, so he was unable to basically speak or provide anything in that court case. But that is the step that we are dealing with. We don't ever know what's going to be said, just like this grooming allegation. Why it would come up and why anybody would ever be capable of going there beyond us, but I know that's why there's probably a lot of these men in here.
Yeah.
So
No, it's horrible. Yeah.
it's hard.
And it's sick.
Very hard.
Like I could hear it in your voice when we were talking about it. It's just so gross, you know?
It's just sickening.
And I'll tell you this, when you hear other people talk about it and you hear how they feel about it, like when I say it on the videos, it's like, it's like false allegations, but like when you're a person going through that, man or woman, or, like, it's just so disturbing.
Well, and it's not just, your regular, I have my ex, he has his ex, and we might have, different modifications or different parenting plans or whatever going on. It's this, we are going to team up together and we have zero limits on what we will do to just implode anything and everything about y'all's lives. And I know that my fiance and I create more anger in them because we don't give them the result of having a mental breakdown or falling and turning and running the other direction. But it's extremely difficult because we can't just come out and ask specific things on the stand or, did this person say this person, because it's hearsay. And if we don't have a physical document stating whatever it is he or she said or anything like that, it's extremely hard. So how do we combat left field accusations?
I mean, man, so there's a few things here. I got one question. You don't have to answer it, but are you guys sober in like a program that the court recognizes, like could be a SMART recovery program or a 12-step recovery or something?
No.
So you're just
both made the decision themselves to cut out alcohol.
So like them lying about you not drinking alcohol or whatever, you can actually take an alcohol test. And
just so you know, we have been test testing ourselves since February, and we are still being accused and filed on repeatedly in every which way that there's no way and that we must be lying. And those test tests have been provided with a business record affidavit and all of the proof needed. We have a sober link that we bought and we test ourselves on regularly.
Is that crazy?
It still is not. And that's why I was like, what?
That's a great job on your part.
Does this judge say, let me do my job and stop being best friends with this attorney because it's getting out of hand? And then we request to move courtrooms and it's no, both parties need to agree.
It's pretty hard. Yeah. Okay. So all these things are just wasting your time and there's no consequence for them. So you need to start giving them legal consequences. So you need to hit them with different discoveries. That's going to be expensive, and it's going to like they're punishing you. And then because you guys are pro se, there's not as much of a financial loss, but there's the extreme emotional, like the very real, stress of all of this.
None of us are attorneys, so we just try to figure it out as best we can.
Yeah, and then the other thing too, which is always crappy about this, is it's really tough because this is going to bond you to it as it has, but then your friends and family don't understand. Like you can't have an in-depth conversation about it, right? They might support you as much.
They don't. I mean, they see it and they're sad, but they're not in it, and it's not a direct effect on them or their children. Yeah.
So they need to work their attorney, and then you need to start understanding like how you can attack some way in pro se. And like, man, there's guys that are on here right now that did pro se stuff and had to fight really hard. And they may not want to be on the live stream audio. I know they definitely don't want to be, maybe I could put you in a breakout room. I don't know. I don't want to put that responsibility on them. It's like way past everybody's bedtime. But the thing is
Well,
like,
I'll make a blanket statement. Anybody who has been there, done that, or maybe is doing it now, and you've had any kind of success or awakening, aha, something of a discovery, if you want to send me a message or whatever it might be, then I can put my number in the chat.
I would definitely like if there were like 20 people on here, you might not want to put your number in the chat, but there's very few people on the Zoom right now. So I think you're kind of safe and nobody's going to harass you too much. But if they do, you know where it came from. But the thing is that, you know, they're abusing the system, but in a way that's creative and allowed, and they have some leeway from the judge. And you have to learn how to fight that back, man. You know,
Right.
you've got to learn how to be able to give them consequences, you know, for the ways that they're litigating. You know, it's not right. And then it sounds like you don't really have anything that you want to take from them. You're just protecting yourself. But is there a better parenting plan you want? Like, what are you just defending, or do you want to fight?
No, we knew it was going to be a fight because what we want is more time. And my fiance is seeking soul for now due to, I don't know what we can say, rugs.
Well, but how much time does he already have with the child?
Right now he has a standard first, third, and fifth.
Okay. And then
we lived in the same, we ended up moving into the same county, a half a mile from her school. And then mom picked up and moved, didn't tell anybody.
Man, see, right now you guys are fighting to defend, or from what you've described to me, and you're not focused on the argument of how, you know, is it in the best interest of the child for him to have more time? You're basically just defending yourself, and so you need to get past that. This is the tough thing. Like, you know, it's like file first. You know, yeah, you got to file first. No false allegations. Whatever, all this sort of stuff. Because then you're just stuck trying to get back to ground zero. You know,
absolutely.
And it's pretty horrible, man. I'll tell you this. Like, both you and Tim with your questions last night with the two Davids, like, it really makes me go like I like doing this, and I like doing it even more when the group can come in. I really do like it, but I want to do these more, but I can only do them so much, you know? So, God, man.
Steve, I have a general question.
Sure.
What type of reform, at what level of the court does it take to modify every state's family court and probate system? Is that,
man, that's everybody's dream. And so here's my problem with this. I want it to happen, but there's like one Robert Garza, right? There's not many people. There's all these people who want to change that, but it's not happening, right? So what happens is that it gets turned into, there's all these points that get turned into hysteria where people don't actually win. And this is what bothers me. So I want that to happen. Like, this was my first thought when this shit happened to me, right? Like, how do we change this? But then everybody gets hysterical and they do nothing. And like, it's really effed up, man. Like, when you look at a lot of like the men's rights stuff, a lot of petitions, like a petition just went out on my group and a bunch of guys signed it. And I just hope it works. It's just, we get all worked up about these things and not enough people are accomplishing it. And then somebody out there is like, well, I'm going to be the person that's going to do it. Well, I sure as hell hope so, but there's one Robert Garza. And then with this, you know, it's like, you know, I had like a coaching business. I'm giving advice. I'm like, well, why not? You know, this is a problem for me, and why not do it? And then I start doing it, and then you find out like it can work. Like, man, you can get wins. So Shelby's case is tough. Tim, they suck. Like, there's so much about this that makes you go like,
agreed.
How can we not fix this obvious problem? Okay, but first, I think, this is my opinion, right? Like, win your case. But then when you look at people who've actually like done it, made a dent in this, so I have, and I did kind of just being a guy, like talking to you guys. I don't know your cases, man. I'm like, well, here's what you could do. Here's how you need to think. And a lot of it is like, keep your head on straight, and then let's learn the process. Let me learn it. Let me figure it out. Like, let me take a deeper look. And that's like really what I'm doing. But other men aren't doing that for other men. Other women aren't doing that for other women. There's more information for women on how to do the silver bullet and disenfranchise and lie or whatever, and not about how to actually win. Like, what's up with that? There's all these men saying that they care, and like, okay, I'm good at giving advice and coaching and kind of reading people and that sort of thing, and like maybe figuring out these abstract things, but I am no genius, man. Like, I'm not. And like today, this will go a little bit to both you and Shelby and Tim and even anybody else who's listening. I talked to one guy in a criminal case, like, and you got to understand this. I'm like some dude, right? I'm some guy, but I'm also some guy that for like have done this a lot, right? But I'm just some guy, and I'm talking to one lawyer, and then another lawyer, so an outside lawyer that's helping me, and I'm talking to another a client who's in a big criminal thing, and then his lawyer. And we're going back and forth on all this different stuff. And I'm learning and I'm getting it. And then I'm bringing stuff to the table that they may not be able to think about. And here's the thing with this is we have all these experts, right? And a lot of it is us being able to communicate and talk to one another. This is not a hard thing. Like, okay, so we're all communicating, talking to each other, bouncing off ideas. There's one really stressed guy, the client, and then there's another lawyer who's pretty stressed. And what makes...
Oh, sure. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sure. Go ahead.
I was going to say, if there can be healthcare reform and mandatory minimum and drug law reform, why does this one corner of the legal sandbox lay to waste or left to its own devices and become so warped? When does it take a senator, a president, a governor to really invest in the topic?
Well, all right. So everybody loves this discussion. You just gave the thing that everybody's thinking. But then what's the result of that? And so I really want to get you guys to think about that. What's the result? Everybody goes, yeah, man, it's fucked up. It sucks. It's screwed. And then what happens? Like, these are important things you're asking. Why does nothing happen? Why does it move at a snail's pace, right? Like, I don't know, but I know that that's what happens. So it makes a guy give up on his case easier. Like, these are important. Every guy in my group that does well or does bad or whatever cares exactly about what you said. But it gives us an excuse to do less and to then distract ourselves on constitutional law and all these other things, which are super important. But I'm just saying you need to win your case, right? And so this makes it then a higher probability for real, right? I don't have the stats for it. I just know that men who don't win say that, and men who have a chance to win say that and then don't win. And I just see it all day long, right? Like it is the thing that they will say if you tragically lose. And there's a reason for it, right? It's not because it's like a character flaw. It's because it is the commonality that is in there. It's one of them. There's also bad judges, corrupt courts, crappy law. There's all these things that play into that. So the guy that wins thinks all of those same things, but then comes back to focusing on his case, or a woman that wins. And so that's what's important. So I agree. I don't know. I'm not that guy. I don't want to be that guy. I didn't even want to be this guy. Like, I don't like this. I don't like reading, like Shelby's talking about the protective order thing. I've had to read some of those things in criminal. It's the most effed up thing over and over again. And this happened to me. So it's like reliving the trauma and whatever, but nobody's doing that. Like, so, and then think about this simple thing. Like, I want you to, like, this is so simple. And again, like, Tim, no disrespect by any means, but you had to chime in to make your point, a point that's made every fucking minute. that gets no result. And nobody's pointing this out, but I'm making the point that nobody makes that works. This is part of the megaphone. So me, a lawyer, a client, and his lawyer are talking. And because we're talking and there's some people that aren't stressed, we can strategize. And I don't know if they'll win, but that's one of the factors of us winning. Like, this is the simplest thing. Everybody here, like on YouTube, TikTok, whatever, it's like, well, I'm going to start a men's group. Please start one. I'm going to start a women's group. Please start one. But you don't. And it's hard because, like, it's hard. I have men that are stressed out, losing their shit. And this is what I'm good at. This is what I'm good at. I'm really good at that. I'm very good at hardcore trauma. All the stuff that gets thrown away in our culture from men. And not as good with women, but, you know, whatever. I have therapist friends that are good with that. And
You did great.
well, yeah, and we didn't really get into it, but I'm good at that. And because of that, I'm able to have a group that has this, like, real results that everybody says are impossible, that you want to distract yourself and blame shit. And here's one of the key factors. I get people who have fresh minds to talk. Like, so we heard Kenneth earlier. Like, Kenneth is some guy. Kenneth gets family law. There's dudes here who probably don't want their names mentioned, and they've fucking won in pro se with exactly the same stuff that you're describing, Shelby. Like what you're talking about, Tim, like, Tim, you have an easy case in comparison to anything in my group, but it's mind-bendingly horrible. I'm just saying that there's no jail time in front of you. You don't have a protective order, a permanent protective order hanging over your head. You can see your kids. Like, this is horrible. Like, I'm not making light of your situation, but in comparison to what can win in my group, and it can also lose. Like, this is kind of simple, right? Stressful, horrible, totally effed up. I empathize with you. But what wins? People coming together, talking, doing their own research, being able to go, like, why is Shelby having this problem with her judge? Why, like, who else is being attacked by 2 attorneys, right? How is that a flaw? Like, start organizing, you know? And I get, like, for you guys, Tim and Shelby, like, you know why people don't? It's because it's difficult. You're inundated. You're working a job and you're totally, you know, like, man, you have your back against the wall in a lot of ways. And it was really hard for me. And I already had an existing group. And then we transitioned to this when I had my problems. And then there's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of freaked out dudes. There's a lot of people losing their shit. There's a lot of people who fucking kill themselves. The word we're not supposed to say. And I mean, man, I messaged a guy today because we were talking about or 2 days ago, because some other crazy trauma came up. And the last time that guy messaged me, it was because of a suicide call. And he would say, well, push him to the professionals. Give him the suicide hotline. By the way, I want you to call the suicide hotline. But he already did. And he already did talk to therapists. And he already did, and it's underserved. So just like family court, so it's like, yeah, we have healthcare reform, we have all this sort of stuff. Dude, there's a lot of underserved crap. And family court is a small piece of it. Like, veteran issues, underserved. Abuse towards anybody, but a lot towards men, whether it's sexual or physical, underserved, like denied that it exists. It's really horrible. So addiction. So I'm 17 years sober, right? And I've lived for it massively in working with people all over. All of it volunteer until 2019. And only then there were just a couple of years of payment. And huge amounts of volunteer work. Like, that's not working. All of that stuff is not functioning. All of it, there's a lot of a lie in it. So in the real stuff that I know that helps with addicts is helping them. It is not hysteria. It's not that the more people we get to watch the Give an Addict a Hug speech, which is ridiculous, that's gonna, it's like a complete unawareness of the problem, right? And I get that there's more to it than with that philosophy or whatever. But the more that we get people to understand that, to look at that, to watch a Gabor Mate talk, that doesn't change, that doesn't help an addict suffering or an alcoholic or whatever. So with family court, I kind of follow the same model. What's going to help you? And what's going to help you, my first, another little thing, sorry, I'll get to questions after this, but one little thing is that I had such a problem with recovery. So I've been a drug addict since 14 and proud of it. I love it. I hate the fact that people are ashamed of it, whatever. You can be ashamed about being whatever it is you want as a result of addiction, but one of the great results of addiction is recovery. And so I'm extremely proud of it. It's given me more depth. It's made me be able to do this job and help a lot of people with it that are outside of it. So 14 to 17, whatever denial problems, 17 to 20, I was clean. And part of a whole bunch of stuff, relapse. But I got how good recovery was. When I was 30 and got clean, I knew all sorts of alternative recoveries, all sorts of alternative things, and all sorts of things that I've since done. But at 30, life sucked so bad. I said, you know what? I'm only going to focus on this one thing. And I'm not going to bring up all the other stuff that I had been a part of trying to get clean and sober in other ways, which could be good. I'm just going to do this one thing. And I'm going to shut the fuck up and do it. And then at 34, I started to branch out and look at other things very cautiously. And man, I got to see some answers and some not. And all of the front doors of those are pretty much lies of a lot of alternative things, but alternative things I do now. And I like. Why I'm saying that is this was such an important lesson. 30 to 34 was so bad, I'm going to shut the fuck up. And I'm not saying that to degrade anybody that you should stop, but in family court, there got to a point where it was like, I'm not doing something, so I'm going to do what works and do my thing. And I'm not going to get involved in the politics and all this other things and whatever that you didn't give a shit about until you got fucked. So let's get unfucked and deal with that. Like, I don't understand why the catastrophic problems of men's rights, the red pill, all these people, whatever factions that have loud presence on social media that basically broadcast to hysterical people that are reactive. I don't get why they just don't try and help the fucking person. You see this with addiction. You see this with male depression. You see this with we all understand we have laws about female sexual abuse, but do you see any of those people helping those women? They're not. Like, that's so screwed up that we have laws and a lot of awareness and all these things about this stuff, which is good, but still the person tormented is avoided. And the only way they'll be used, the only way this is used is to self-promote a cause that cares more about itself than the woman that's being trafficked or whatever. Like, it's so surprising to me. Like, I know some people that were trafficked, and I know a lot of people that work with trafficked people, and man, nobody cares about them. Nobody's trying to help the therapists and social workers trying to resolve that, but everybody wants to talk about it with who they're going to vote for and who they're going to make friends with and how they want to hate somebody else. That is sick, Anyway, Shelby, you have a question. I should stop talking.
Well, I don't really have a question, but I did want to say more so like a comment or an opinion, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, go for it.
On the matter, if that's all right. I know for a fact that, especially in Texas, unless it's Austin's a little bit different, but I will say women are usually seen as the ones that are supposed to have the kids, right? So I have talked to other women who have gone through separation or divorce or whatever it is, and they have no way of possibly understanding what it's like to be the bad guy in the case, so to say. Not
Totally.
that I'm the bad guy, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so as women don't want to talk about it.
Totally.
For men typically choose to not speak about it because they hear the same thing, you know, they need to be with their mother, yada, yada, yada. But I will tell anybody and everybody, with me being with my fiance and being on the flipped end where I am basically in a custody suit of going against a woman myself out of all of this, I could never before, when I was with my son's dad and we separated, I never understood the quote unquote crazy baby mama stuff. I really never did. I couldn't ever fathom that being a reality because I just couldn't. And now seeing it and being in it and sitting in it and feeling it and seeing it happen and happen successfully, I just, my mind, and I am a woman, obviously, my mind could never go to the places. So to this day, with things that come out of this person's mouth, my mind could never go to such a place to conjure. And that's what I refer to it as because it's pure evil, to conjure up anything and everything to keep a child away from a parent who is fighting. And a lot of men give up because it is so hard, because it's a constant beat down. And I feel like men don't take care of themselves enough in the mental health because they're supposed to be seen as strong. And then if y'all are too strong, then y'all are aggressive. And if you're aggressive, then you're the problem. And with women don't want to talk about it if they are struggling in court because then, you know, the world, the day and age and how it's supposed to be seen is the woman is the caretaker. If you have a baby daddy who's absent, it's one thing. If you have a baby mama who's absent, it's completely different. There's no happy medium for any way you want to spin it. And it's disgusting. And the courts make it worse because you can have an awesome judge one day, and then one day you go to court and you're transferred to another court, and the judge, you could be in the same courtroom in the same county with a different judge, and you could be happy-go-lucky in one case with the same evidence, and in the other case with a different judge, you get shut down, slammed down, and told to basically give up. And you get to that point of wanting to give up. And it's not talked about enough. And this group is crazy because I find myself relating more to the men than I do to the women because there's no community for us going through it like this.
Yeah. Hey, I'll
I know I said a lot. I'm sorry.
No. This is good. I think this is important to be brought up for a couple of reasons. So what you're bringing up, like, is what started me in custody. So when I lost custody, my only support group was a lot of recovery communities. And in those communities, it's overwhelming. A lot of the women have lost custody. And so I would go to court with them and stuff like that. And that's where, you know, you'd see
women like that. But the thing is, and I'm sure you know this, there's people who have been in more of a rough spot than you that have gone through recovery and they got easy access back to their children.
Yeah.
And yes. And it was just a cakewalk. And then for others, it's, you already know.
Well, yeah. So what I want to say about the difference between men and women here is when women lose, it's worse. All right. So for a couple, and you know, what's worse, you know, you kind of, I don't want to say that, but in some ways it is like just.
I'm hearing what you're saying.
Bold face.
I'm picking up what you're putting down because I've seen it.
So when like it's so difficult, like I'm so much better at working with men, but with women, there's the social implication. So first off, if you're a woman and you lost custody, it could be for many, many reasons, right? Many reasons, the same way a guy does. And you may walk in with more advantages, but if that trips, if you get any setback in court, man or woman, you're fucked, right? And so then the road back is kind of unique. Like a man's going to have to go against, like, the anger can't come up, and then the woman, then it's like the drama, the emotion gets shut down, and then she's also seen as worse. And for whatever reason it is, like, one, I just think this is societally true, so I'm going to assume that the judges, it's the same. But again, not like, I've been with my friends in this, and gone to court with them when they get screwed over. And like you said, some people can walk back easily from in a recovery situation that has like true addict abusive stuff in it, and they can get access to their kids. And others, it's true addict abuse that they can't get back. But the court sees them is, ma'am, if you lost custody of your kids, you must be really screwed up. So not only does the judge maybe see them that way, society definitely sees them that way. And then you can't talk to anybody. And then everybody's story about healing from divorce and custody is this overwhelming thing that you don't get to be a part of as a woman that's been hit with the family court tragedy. So you hear all these stories about, like, it's my same thing with men with the celebrity vet thing. It's like, man, it's awesome that, you can beat PTSD by doing like badass shit, but that's not true for a lot of people. And so then the vast majority, right? And so then what is there for them? The overwhelming megaphone is like, here's this candy land of what it means to be an American hero, but instead you get to be homeless. I guess because you were stupid. That's like this horrible message that's sent to an overwhelming problem. And so when women have this, it's like there's all this information on custody, getting past divorce, and whatever. And then there's a lot more of no one. Okay. And so it's just different, man. It's really hard to find the outlets. And dude, like, maybe Shelby, you have some other issues, maybe not, but the women that I know usually did have other issues. So it hits that much harder. Right. So,
Well, Steve, can I say something?
Yeah, please.
So, I mean, I'm just spilling all the tea here, I guess. But the reason my case
I'm
is
drinking
so difficult is because yeah, go ahead. The attorney that I had told me the day before court we were not prepared. He was needing a continuance. Went to court the next day, told me I didn't need to be there. Went to court. Did not contact me, proceeded in court without me. I got default judgment.
Wow.
And I got reamed.
Yeah.
Opposing counsel, immediate bench warrant. Showed up to court the next day. First time judge got to lay eyes on me at that time. This was a few years ago. The judge even made a comment on my physical appearance because he thought that I was going to be some methed out junkie reject person walking in there with no brain, and he was shocked because that is what was portrayed because I was not there. And it was because of my poor representation. And it's just like doctors. Attorneys are just like doctors. You have good doctors and you have bad doctors.
Yeah.
And you have doctors that care and you have doctors that just want your money.
Yeah. Man, I'm sorry to hear that. And I'm even more sorry because we only help methed out junkies. So too bad for you.
My sobriety's not helping my case.
Hey, but this is like one of those things. It's like when you get the setback for whatever reason, man, it's bad for everybody. And then men and women have these unique things back. And so it's not just like if you're attacked by a narcissist in a certain way or whatever, it's that you're way back into court. Like if the courts are biased and they're making unfair rulings, and let's say they're not, let's say they make mistakes and they don't know how to get back to them because most people quit. And then maybe there's some bias. You have to assume that there's bias with you. Like, so the man is going to have biases and the woman's going to have bias. And it's horrible. Like I explained to a person, like, let's look at it like in terms of racism. You know, what a horrible thing. Wouldn't it be horrible to ask like an ethnicity that's discriminated against, well, act like, you know, how the discriminating people want to see you. But man, do you want every edge of your court case? Like, do that language. You got to. You know, it's what they like. You have to follow their rules. It's totally screwed up. So if there's a bias, like don't get all into American freedom and whatever. Like you want to fight that, but you're better off fighting for that when you get the custody of your kids, right? And if you don't, then what I know from watching people, and if there's examples of this, man, listen to them, do what they do. This is not my experience. This is not my group's experience. So if this exists, like guys who did that, put together a course, don't self-promote to be cool or whatever, and, you know, be famous, like put together something that shows men that will help them how to do this. What's interesting is, guess what? That course doesn't exist. And it doesn't exist because people either are lazy or it's not true, or they just got so rocked by it they can't put together the course. Like that's effed up. Like you could make money at this, but nobody's done that. Why? Why? Like why, if you've really accomplished that, why? Like I really want to know. So what I know is if you talk about constitutional law and you give up your case to fight it, you're going to lose your case. I'm not against, like, I want you to fight the Constitution. I want you to subpoena your judge in federal court. I think that that's good to get justice, but don't overlook your case. Win your case. Because if you win your case, you could be like some of the guys in our group who might set precedent in their courtroom to where now parental alienation is recognized. And that would be like changing the law slowly, right? But that's kind of fast when, again, there's like very few people who've actually helped change the laws. So I think that that's very important to look at. Very important. And again, if you know the way to change, to whatever, get your judge thrown. I actually know a guy. I don't want to say too much, but his kid got kidnapped, and the judge that allowed his ex to leave got moved out of family court and put in a different circuit. They got demoted or whatever. They got censured. Okay. So these things happen, right? But you have to know how to do it. And if you know how to do it and you're so certain of it, I'm very happy. Go help men who want to do this, because there's like a couple million guys that really want to learn how to do this. Like make a free book, like everybody says, but better yet, make $100 book. You'll probably sell a lot of them. Why doesn't it exist? If it's possible, why doesn't it exist? You know? Anyway, I should go soon. Hey, I want to say this. So people on TikTok, people on YouTube, thank you so much. Thank you for all the YouTube people who donated money. I don't know if you did tonight, but they did last night. And I was like, what? They can do this? That's pretty cool. But thank you so much to people who showed up on the Zoom call. There's just a couple of you guys that came, and I know it's late. Thanks so much, Tim. Thanks, Shelby. Man, David. I hope I'm saying your name right. And you emailed me, and I'm so upset I haven't gotten back to you, but starts with a J. I won't say your name because you didn't talk, which you're welcome to talk, but we're going to wrap it up here. It's really cool. And I really enjoyed talking to you guys who did talk about your cases. Like, you deserve it. Like, you deserve good treatment. And thank you guys for being respectful. Like, what a cool thing. Public call. You know, we don't allow guests on our calls because too much private stuff gets shared and it would just be inappropriate. And like, we had a public call. David was on last night and talked. Tim, Shelby, like, you guys were really, really cool. And I hope you guys do well with your cases. And if there's something that I can do that can help, that doesn't make me get too stressed and go crazy and realize that, like, you know, I'm a dad and, you know, got to take kids to school and you know, all these same things and make a living. Like it's difficult. I'm so happy to have you guys on. And if there's something I can make, suggestions, I'm probably not going to be able to listen to it and have the bandwidth. But if there's like a video topic, a problem that you want to email me about, and whatever, I can do a live stream based on it or those sorts of things. So I'm really stoked you guys came, and I appreciate you guys being like just great public guests. What a cool thing. Better than the people on TikTok last night, the haters. So that being said, I'm going to go. I'm going to get some sleep. And Tim, email me. I'll try and reach out to some of the other dudes in your state and county. Shelby, email me, and I'll try and reach out to some of the people more local. If I forget and get too busy, I apologize. I'm going to try my best. And if I don't get anything back from the people that I'm thinking about, don't take it personally, man. They're really stressed out people that are killing themselves trying to work their case, and they may not have the time. So on that note, good stuff. You guys can have a kick-ass life even if everything's going to crap. I'm living proof. Later, guys. Ciao. Goodbye, YouTube. Goodbye, TikTok. Thanks so much for being here.